be, we're not really teaching anything new this class, but rather we're going to pick up where we left off last semester on the GIS part, and we will see how we can apply it to your assignments. So let me first load up your brief. Okay, so for your project brief, the reason why we want to have this GIS class today is because if you know what happened, there's a pretty tight schedule which you're supposed to do the site visit on the February 16th. And that's why we have our class today. We want to get you a little head start so that you can prepare the information you need and prepare the data that you need before you go out on site. So I have highlighted the parts where the GIS aspect is involved for your deliverable. So I'll just quickly first go over them. For your brief, item number 3, you have to define a consistent evaluative criteria which will allow measurement and evaluation of the importance of LCA types and area. Analyze the baseline information collected and divide landscape resources into areas of distinct, recognizable, and consistent characters to produce a landscape character map of the site in GIS formats. Now, learned from Michael, a couple class before, you have a guest speaker come over to share how they come up with the landscape character map. And I'm sure all of you have already seen the landscape character map. So for this assignment, you will be required to produce something similar to that, but of course in a much larger scale, because the landscape character map before covers the entire Hong Kong. For the one that you will be working on will only cover a small area. So the first part is you have to produce a landscape character map format. GIS format meaning you will be submitting a MXD file document, which is the ArcMap document, and a map produced from the GIS. And also for the each group's deliverable. So basically, you will be producing a landscape character area right from the GIS. So that's the first thing. Value and sensitivity of each LCA shall be clearly shown. That means when you come up with your own features inside the GIS, you should have 2 columns that contains these 2 information. Okay. Again, the basics: clear and readable legend, title block, scale, north point, etc. A GIS attribute table in Excel format, showing the statistical summary of the delineated LCA. So, which means once you have come up with a column to record all the delineated LCA of your area, remember back for our GIS assignments, there's one part where you have to come up with your own proposals, screening proposals, and then later we have to get the total area for the planters and the numbers for the trees. So this is something similar to that. So after you have come up with your own landscape character areas, you have to get the summary, meaning how many patches for each area that you define, and the total area for each. Okay. And then an electronic copy of your compiled map, including the ArcMap documents used to compile the map. And that file will be uploaded to Moodle on the 25th. Now in your landscape character areas report, there's one thing that you will be learning this class because we haven't touched that last semester, is to create a hyperlink enable color photograph. And what it will mean, I will be showing you right after that. So the highlighted parts are the ones that you will be looking at in terms of the GIS deliverable. Okay, any questions? Okay. So when you start up your MXD file that you should have extracted from Moodle, you should see something like this. Can everyone open and start up their ArcMap and see if they see anything like this? I think your file name should be called site area. You should have the same file. It should be something like this.
I don't have the site, the one named site area.
Can everyone find this file? Because the file should be the same for all of you. Now when you open the map, you should get a blank screen. And the reason for it is because you haven't connected to the database. So first you might want to connect the database. For the site area, again, if you recall from our last class, find the feature layer and connect to your corresponding. So if you did it correctly, you only need to connect to one single file and your whole database will be updated. And once you have done that, you should get something like this. Everybody managed to connect to the database? Now, when you manage to connect to the database, actually your map would look something like this because there are many different colors on the screen. Now, for this assignment, you might want to spend some time working on with the symbology and the colors because again, the background of the base map is the colors is not really the center of our focus. Our center of focus is what? What do we need to focus on for this assignment? The landscape character. So that means what you will be doing, you would be going over these columns, turning off the ones that you don't need, and recolor the ones that you think you'll need. And when you have done it, you would get something like mine. Once you upload that, I want you to add data and add a file called the landscape character type. I've extracted the landscape character of the area of our subject area. Now to add the data should be called LCM. And then you should be able to find this feature. So if everyone managed to open this? Now when you manage to add this layer in, you might realize the colors is a little bit different than mine. So when I add it, you should get something like this. Is that right? Now the reason why can anyone tell me why is it a single color? Why is it in a single color? If we open the attribute table, you will see there are a lot of different landscape character types and the landscape character names. The reason why it's in a single color is because we haven't gone through the symbology and changed it to the corresponding landscape character type. Now, of course, if you want to do this, you can go to symbology and change the colors one by one. But if you don't want to do this because this is too time consuming, there's actually a layer file which I've set for this. So to load up this layer file, go to import and under this folder called layers, I want you to select the landscape character types. When you've done that, press OK. OK. And you get the whole landscape character type sorted out. So for your assignments, you will be required to come up with your own list of landscape character types and change the color symbols to whatever you want to have in there. And for the hyperlink enable function, if I click on this lightning bulb, there's a problem with it. Problem with the network, I can't. But when you manage to get the hyperlink, by selecting on these, you will have the photograph popped up. And that is what is required for your assignments. I will work on the link later on. But in short, this is what is expected for your GIS part of the deliverable. Okay. Now, for yours, right? It's because you haven't had any information in your hyperlink. You must get the information in the hyperlink and then go to properties. you have to get this selected on. And then choose the column. Choose the column where you put your hyperlink file. I think mine is called images. Let me check. Okay, of course. I can't. Maybe I don't have the photograph copy. But if you manage to have your photograph copy, and you click on this link, your photograph will pop out. So this will be useful during your presentation. If you want to present the location which you took in your picture, you can use this function. Okay. Okay, so is everybody clear on this part, what you're required for the GIS bit? And so right now I will go on and teach you how to create your own feature and come up with your own landscape character. Now to get started, before you go out on site, I believe all of you have managed to sort out your own groups right now, right? So before you go out on site, the first thing maybe you need to think about is what information do you need to collect? So the information you collect, in return, you might get a visual experience information. So on a map like this, you might be able to show whether the visual experience is high or low. Or the management of your landscape character type. Is your landscape character type management level is a conservation, or whether enhancement is needed, or is it a reconstruction? Or even by looking at the topography, whether it's a highland, lowland, is it a valley, ridge? These are some of the ideas right now for you to think about before you go out on site. Because the more information you collect, the more maps that you can prepare for your presentation and for your reports. Yep. You don't have this information is because they are actually all contained inside your landscape character map. If you just spend some time to look at this attribute table, all these information are drawn from this. So the one that I just mentioned about the topography, and its built form, so all these information are contained within this database. So this database, what you see right now, tallies with the original landscape character map, the one that was surveyed about more than 10 years ago. Was it 2004 they mentioned? This landscape character map was surveyed around 2004. So as your baseline background information, this is what you will be using. So compare this with your current existing information and see how this area has changed over the past 12 years. So this is what you will be working on as part of the desktop study. Compare this to the existing, verifying this information on site. And for example, for this green patch, it was once called the uplands and hillside. It's an rural area, and it's undeveloped. So you might want to compare this to the existing, whether this area is still undeveloped or still what it's written in the database. So you'll go over these bit by bit, one by one, compare how these have changed over the years. And for these changes, you might create your own feature class and come up with your own landscape character type. Any question on this part? So there's actually not a lot that you need to look at because there are only total about 21 patches. So you can go over these 21 patches, and once you get down on site, you can compare it and see what has changed. Okay. So I believe you also have this quintile site boundary. I have already georeferenced this image. So in case you're split into groups, you can use this and make reference to it. Okay. Okay. Any question on that part? I think you guys look a bit confused.
Is it? Did you make that or?
Sorry?
Those thematic LCT site boundary. Oh. Is that from you or?
This is the information collected from the original study done in 12 years ago. We have this information because we were also working on it. That's why. So once they've collected this information, as you can see for this, they have collected a lot of information. There's a lot of them. Now, it is not required for you to actually collect all these information. So within your group, you guys can discuss before you go out on site what information you need to collect. So whatever information, how many pieces of information you collect is how many maps that you'll be able to produce. Understand that? So if you go out on site, you only manage to maybe come up with your own landscape character type. That's all you can get out of for your map production. But if you spend some time, think about, discuss amongst your group, what information you want to collect on site. So whatever piece of information you find relevant, you can add that into your table, and later on, you can produce a map, something like what I have here. I've only shown 3 as an example. As you can see inside the attribute table, there are a lot of tables. So later on, you can use these and produce whatever map you want. Get that? Okay, so right now, the next thing we'll be learning is how to start creating this attribute table. So to do that, go back to the ARC catalog to create our own file. Now, connect to whichever location that you want to save your work. So if you want to work on a D drive or to your own USB, you can connect to the folder first. So I've also managed to put down the steps inside a PowerPoint, so later on when you try, you don't have to copy it one by one. You can refer to my PowerPoint, it's fine. Okay, okay, so first connect to your own working folder. And you remember from our last semester, the files that we have been working on, it's mainly shapefile. Is that right? Shapefile is always an individual file, but this time, because it's a project, we treat this as a project, so we'll be using another file type that is not a shapefile. The file type we'll be using is called a geodatabase file. So when you first create a geodatabase, you simply right-click on the content and go to File Geodatabase. So what is a file geodatabase? File geodatabase, you can just treat it as a folder. Inside this folder will contain all the information relevant to your project. So that's why we create a geodatabase. And then you can rename to it. I just call it the landscape character type. So once you have created this, double click on it, and you can start adding some files in. Now the first thing we want to create is a landscape character type file. So again, if you do this, right click, new. Each file is called a feature class. So we'll be creating this called feature class. So for the name, you can just type in maybe landscape character type. For a landscape character type, what feature should we store it under? Polygon, right? So make sure it's in a polygon. And what coordinate system are we setting it to? Projected. Can go to national grids, Asia, Hong Kong 1980. So again, I have to repeat, make sure it's in a projected, otherwise you cannot derive the areas. So once you have done that, press next, next, until you get to this screen. Now create a shapefile, because what you see right here is the column names that you're about to build, that you're about to add into your file. Now for now, maybe we still haven't thought of what columns that we need, so let me just click finish for now. Are you guys right now sitting in groups? In your own group? No? Because right now I want you guys to maybe either in groups or the representative working on the GIS parts to actually sit together or just discuss amongst yourself right now and think about what information you need to collect. And once you have come up with that, you can simply start jotting in your ideas and put it in an Excel table. So what you see, you don't have to copy what I have right now, it's just an example. How you can spend some time going through the attribute table inside the landscape character type. So discuss with a group, you can look at this as a reference and then start brainstorming what information you need to collect. Okay? So maybe we'll have about 15 minutes. Just sit together and think about what information you need to collect on site. And once you have done that, type it in an Excel table. Later on, we will be using this table and join it into the feature class that we just created. 15 minutes. So maybe right now, you haven't come up with a full list yet because you still need some time to think about it. But this is just an example. So once you have created a column, you can start adding in the text, which the text that you want to build up, the landscape character type. So for example, right now, I just randomly put in some text name, type and description. So later on, when you come up with your own, you can also go to this Excel and add it to your own Excel table. So everyone right now save your Excel to 97 to 2003 formats. The 97 to 2003. So once you have saved it, you can go back to the art catalog. Now, before, when we created a shapefile, we want to add column names to your shapefile. The way that we do it is, we actually have to go in and type them one by one. So before for shapefile, we have to actually go in and type in one by one and choose your own data type. So this is also one way that you can do this. Right now, what we want to do is from your Excel, we want to import those table names directly into these columns. So we don't have to retype them one by one. Now there's a function, if you go to your properties fields, there's a function at the bottom called import. Now this import button is dimmed right now because we already created the file. So therefore we cannot do the import process. So right now, let's try the import, then we have to create a new file again. So again, create a new file, a feature.
After you go, what did I learn?
So again, choose the coordinate until you get to this. You'll see the import button.
We try to
when you press import, you can try to locate the file that you just saved. Anyone not able to locate your Excel? Once you have located your Excel, when you click add, you will see sheet 1. This is the one that I have right now. So if you save it to another name, it will also appear here. And for those that are not able to load up your Excel, it's because you have the Excel document open. I save it to another location, that's why I can connect it right now. So if you cannot connect it, it's because you have your Excel file open. So make sure you close it first. And once I click add, you will see all my column names are here. And once we add these columns, we can start go in and changing to our corresponding data type. Anyone have problem loading this table? Let me know if you have a problem.
So I save it as this one.
To choose our data type. Now for the type, what I have right now, I know this is something that I will be actually typing text, right? So I will just keep that as text. For the description, if I want to type in anything more, I know it will be in text format. And here I want to change it to 255, which is the maximum letters that you can actually type inside this column. Okay, I want to record in my dates.
Also record the location.
In here, the data type, I will choose date. Now, because I assume all of you will be going there on the same date. So in this case, if you don't want to type in the date one by one, under here, the default value, you can actually put in a date. So this is the default value. Now you don't have to type in that if you decided to go on a different date. Okay? Okay. If you want to, for team as an example, again, this is just an example. You don't have to follow what I have for the field name, okay? So whatever default value you want, you can actually go in and type it in here. So if I'm with team A, for example, I'll just type A. For the easting and northing, I don't need to type anything because again, it's done automatically. locally inside the ArcGIS. But I want to change it to a long integer because easting and northing, it's numbers, right? For the location, I will just keep it as a text. Hyperlink is also text. Now, whenever I create my own feature class, I always like to add in one name called remarks. Now, this is just my way of doing it. It's because there's a lot of times when I created a table, I might be missing some other information that I want to add in later on, or I want to provide my own comments. The comments is not for a report or not for any purpose, but it's just something, a comment for myself. So I always like to add in one name called remarks. Again, this is just my practice. You can do it whatever way you want. So once you have done that, you can just press finish. I'll just give it a little bit more time in case you're still talking. So once you have done that, you just press finish. Now again, this one is just a trial practice. And once you come up with a consolidated list, you can repeat the same procedure for your new feature class. So once you press finish, you should be able to see your file. If you just want to check whether the columns are there, just go to preview. At the bottom, there's a table. And you should be able to see all your column names are here. Now with this file, if you drag it to your arc map, you can start drawing whatever you want and type in whatever you want right away. But however, there are some, for the feature type, you might need to, because there's a lot of different character types that you wish to define. If you were to, what you have right now, if you want to add these featured less character type, you have to type it in one by one, which is very time consuming, and also there's a chance of you type something wrong. And if you type something wrong, it will affect your calculation. So that's why, if you come up with a list, you can also add it into your Excel table. Does anyone have this list on? If not, if you don't have it right now, I'll just show it on my screen as an example. But again, the steps is also inside the PowerPoint, so you can refer to it later. So for my type and description, I want to add in some less character types. So such that when I add the file inside the ArcMap, it will be like a pull-down menu. A pull-down menu so I don't have to type each one by one. So to do that, open the Arc toolbox. And inside this called the data management tools, there's one called table to domain. Again, it's inside the Arc toolbox. Data management tool. Inside the domain, there's one called table to domain. So double click that. And then here they will ask you for your input table. So right now what I'm trying to do is I want to append my text 1 to 10, my descriptions. I want to add that inside my feature class. Okay. So input table. Under the code field, I select type. Description. So again, this is just my file name, so whatever you have for your column, you will be able to find it here. For the input workspace, this would be your geodatabase file. So find the location where you have your geodatabase. I think mine is the drive. Now, if you manage to enter everything correctly, then there's nothing's going to happen. Otherwise, they should have an exclamation mark or a red color text if there's an error. And others will just keep it as a default. When you've done that, press OK. You need to copy. Press OK. There's an error because I actually opened it. Okay, right now I think I located the wrong file, so they told me there's an error. Let's just try it. So when you manage to complete it, they will tell you it's completed successfully. Close it. So the next thing that you have to do is go back to your file, right-click to Properties, okay. When you open this, you should see the one that I wanted to add is the column called Type. And inside this called Domain, you should be able to see a pull-down menu, Type, and you select Type, which is the one that I've just uploaded from my Excel to the feature class. So once done that, press Apply and OK. So that's it for creating the file. Do you have to go back to the...
Yeah, table to domain.
Okay.
Just
Table to domain. You have to repeat that.
I'm kind of lost.
So in here, let me just... Can you see?
Still get an error.
If you get an error, it's maybe because it's in the wrong file. So again, the input table is your Excel. The code field and description is the column name inside your Excel. workspace is where you kept your database. And that's all you have to type.
Type.
If you have any problems, I'll come around. Let me come around. You have some problem locating to the right database. So if you repeat this process, maybe the best way for me when I use this function, I would close off all my ArcMap, close off all my Excel, and then repeat the process. Usually it will work. So again, I just want to highlight the purpose of having these columns. The purpose of having these columns is because you want to make them as your pull-down menu options. So you don't have to type them in one by one when you create the feature and paste your information in. So it's supposed to save you time. You don't have to type them in one by one. So I see a lot of you I know this is just an example, Excel that you just created. The error that a lot of you encounter is because they're all the same. The column names, the cells inside, they're all the same. So imagine if I only put in A consistent from A2 to A11, the database, when you did the table to domain, it won't work. It's because they don't even know what's the purpose of loading this file. Because if you use a pull-down menu and they're all there's no meaning to it. So make sure you type in something meaningful for both the text, the type, and the description. And after you've done that, you can try to add in your information, the one that you just created. Let me see which one that I have. So make sure also, once you have done that, go back to your fields, and under your domain, select the one that you have just uploaded. So you must go here and select your domain, otherwise nothing's going to happen. Okay. So when I bring it into GIS, let me just randomly draw something. So right now I just made a polygon. If I go to my type, you can see I am able to select. I can make my selection here. So I don't have to type these things one by one. So this way, when you come up with your summary statistics of the different landscape character type that you use, you won't be able to find these common, maybe spelling errors, which will affect your calculation. So again, after I've done that, I can go back to my symbology and be able to load up the different colors. Okay. So this is the way that you will be using when you create your different landscape character types. So that's it for now in terms of creating your feature class and creating these domain values. I'll just repeat the part about the summary statistics. When you produce your statistics, remember, you can go to summarize. And you want to summarize by your type. And then you'll be able to output to your Excel. You can refer back to your previous semester's notes on the summary statistics. Okay. Okay, the last thing. Wait, first of all, anyone have problem with that part?
Me.
Draw the polygon. Do you remember? Start editing. And you can just select.
domain.
我冇食過維記，我哋食流心，唔係流心嘅嗰間叫做豬手
我食開維記，
Just use the existing
豬入面
example.
冇得頂。
你搞咩啊？
So in the end, when you manage to finish drawing your landscape character type, you can insert in your photograph. So there's actually because this is the original landscape character map and they decided to have the image as per the polygon patch. But this is not my recommended way of doing it because for their scale it's okay because they're covering the entire Hong Kong and there's no point showing each specific location on the map. But because for us we're only focusing one small area, not the entire Hong Kong. So if you ask me, I would recommend you to create a point feature file, a point feature to show exactly where you take the picture. So that when on the map, you can actually have an arrow pointing to the specific location where you took the picture. So let me just zoom in on one part. So for example, when you go out on site, you're standing at a location, maybe somewhere approximate in this area, and you want to add in a photograph at this specific location. So how will you do that? So first, of course, you have to create your point feature. Now I'm just going to speed through this process because all of you have already done creating of features.
嚇呢間都係貴㗎。
So it will be a point feature. And for this, I will just type in because there are only two informations I want to collect. The first one is the hyperlink location, and the other one I will add is the remarks.
食小菜食飯嗰啲咯。茶餐廳。係啊。
For the hyperlink, I changed the length to 255 because you never know how many text you will have inside your hyperlink. So for the point feature, I've added 2 columns and I press finish.
唔係啊，你嚟睇下，我睇下有冇其他地方。
I will drag this to my map. And then I can start creating my points. So let's say I have taken a picture from this location. I'll make the symbol larger first. So there's a lot of symbols that you can use. You can use a cross, a pin nail. Maybe I'll use this one. So this location. And once I click on it, I go back to my attribute table and just copy and paste the link which you saved your photo in. So for me, I just copied the entire path.
呢個咧，唔到我走啦。不如一齊啦，好聽。係啊，唔知要做乜嘢。
Where save image?
Where save？
我哋再。
So I just copy and paste the link where my photo is stored. Save and I'll stop. Edit. So the second thing you need to do is go to properties of your photo feature and under the display tab, there's one called support hyperlinks using field. Now there should be a pull down menu. Select the one that you stored your, the location, the column name which you stored your photo. So it's the hyperlink. Press OK. Now the moment you press OK, you should be able to see this lightning icon. It should be on right now. If I just click on it, I'll be able to see my photo. So again, click on the lightning, and you'll be able to see it. So in your presentation, it will be useful when in the report that you're compiling. It will be useful to have a simple base map and have some arrows pointing in the location where you took your picture. I remember there is actually an icon with an arrow, so maybe you have to look it up. So if you really want to use the arrow, you can actually rotate it to the location. So, but if you use this rotate button, you have to enable to read the location.
但係佢直接同我開個花出嚟，咁過癮嘅，我食菜飯咁我應該係。
So right now, whichever angle that I rotate to, the symbol will start refreshing. But you can use this rotate button and go back to this symbology. You should be able to see it. So again, there you can use symbol, you can use a cross. And use any symbol that you want. Okay, so that should cover the information that you need before you go out on site. So the second GIS class, I believe, is on. The second class should be on February 22nd, which gives you some time, because on the 22nd we're not going to learn anything. I will be just here to help you prepare your data. Okay? But this class is just helping you to brainstorm, think about what you need to collect before you go out on the site visit. So make sure before the 22nd you should have the information collected. Well, you should be able to, because the presentation is on the 26th, right? So get to compile your report or give you comments regarding your map. Okay? Yes.